Hello Internet, and welcome to my review for Boruto Naruto Next Generations, episode 87, our last episode of the year, and what a fucking episode to go out on. It was incredible. Before we get into that episode, though, when we last left off, Boruto and Inoki had a fairly long discussion on their views of the synthetics as a whole. First we got a bunch of Kozuchi backstory and how Kozuchi died, and how Inoki started to create the synthetics. But that boiled down to a discussion between Boruto and Inoki on whether or not these synthetics have a will. Inoki believes they do not, and that's why he's okay with them dying. Boruto has seen them up close, and it's very clear to him these people are alive, and so just having them be sent off to be sacrificed strikes him as wrong. And that, of course, is bolstered by his relationship with Mitsuki. But before they can really hash out their differences, Kako shows up to bring Inoki to the Stone Village. So yeah, before we go into the review itself, just a reminder, I have my Winter 2019 anime review straw poll in the description down below. Please go fill that out. Let me know what you want to see me review on the channel next winter, starting in mid-January is when that poll will close. But get that done as soon as possible so I don't forget. And then come back here and watch the video. So yeah, moving on to the review itself. The first thing that happens is in the aftermath of last week's Heart-to-Heart, Inoki has quickly decided that Boruto cannot be allowed to escape. Because if he does, then he'll have the Leaf Village everything, and boom, no more Akuta plan. Which is very counter to what Inoki wants. But Boruto is not really a big fan of this, so he runs the fuck away. And Kako follows him, and a phenomenal fight ensues. I will get into throughout the video because it just permeates so much of what makes the episode so great. But Kako follows him, leaving Inoki behind. And throughout the whole episode, I was kind of assuming that... So, Inoki told Kako not to harm Boruto because that's Inoki's whole thing. He wants to be peaceful. He doesn't want to kill Boruto. He just wants to have his plan go off without a hitch. And for no one to die. His whole thing is he wants no one to die. And so he... True to that, wants to spare Boruto. I was assuming, that Kako's particle style use was going to create some kind of conflict with Inoki, who told him in no uncertain terms that no harm should come to Boruto. But because he dies before they really get to have that little conversation, I feel like we're kind of robbed of a scene there. I'm not too mad because the rest of the episode is so fucking perfect. But seeing I feel like, and I hope this comes into more play in future episodes, that at the end, Inoki asked Kako's corpse, "Why didn't you listen to me?" And I hope the realization that Kako did not listen to him kind of starts to kickstart a change in Inoki as he realizes that, oh shit, the synthetics are alive. They're not, they're not mindless, soulless beings. They're human, for lack of a better word. So I hope that comes out of this episode in Inoki's character. But onto the fight itself, it is great. It's well animated. It's some close combat, kinetic fun. You can follow it. You can feel the action in every punch, and it still taps into the arc's question on the humanity of the synthetics. As Kako desperately wants to feel the excitement that he thinks Boruto is feeling through their fight. Ties into this big question on the will of the synthetics. Do they have will? Do they exist? Do they exist as beings, or are they just machines? Yeah, it's good fucking shit. Even when it's just them alone. And it gets so much better once Sarada and Chocho show up. Sarada fucking punches Kako in the head, and he's sent fucking flying. It's incredible. It's an incredible moment. And yeah, then we get kicked off into the... Is my video working? Yeah, there we go. Sorry, my video was lagging there for a sec. You probably all saw it. Anyway. But before we get into the highlight of the episode, we need to cover everything else that happens before then, because I want to save the best for last. And the show saved the best for last, so I'm going to follow in the show's footsteps. While all of this is happening, for one thing, before all this, Sarada and Chocho had found Akatsuchi and brought him to the cave where Inojin was, the three of them had left to go find Boruto and Shikadai, and then they all found Akatsuchi, and had Inojin go back to the cave with Akatsuchi. Meanwhile, Shikadai is like traipsing around, like sneaking around the village. He sneaks into the Tsuchikage's office and he fucking calls his dad. Like, sure, they make strategic sense. Oh yeah, he'll call the Leaf Village, and it happens to be Shikamaru who picks up. And he tells him the whole situation, but also just the idea of like Shikadai just calling his dad in this like horrific situation. There's something about that that's just so funny to me. It's so good. It's such a great moment. Also seeing how much Shikamaru loves his son. He's like willing to like, you know, like stop everything and start like get approval for an invasion of the Stone Village to like sure it's to restore order to the Stone Village and to make sure that the synthetics are stopped, but also it's to save his fucking son. It's to save Shikadai, and I love that. Meanwhile, back in the Inojin cave, Kirara shows up and officially tops my shit list for kicking little baby Akun, who deserves the world. But anyway, she hypnotizes Inojin. We see her eyes, and they're some new design thing, but it's the same hypnotism trick we saw her use on Kontsuchi to kind of like seep control of the Stone Village behind the scenes. But anyway, that's really all I have for that, because now we need to talk about that fucking fight scene. Was so good. Like first the shot, there's a couple shots early on, like right when Sarada figures out the whole 20-second rule with the particle style jutsus. There are two separate sequences of Boruto and Sarada running up for a spat of like close combat with Kako, and it's so fucking gorgeous. Like, this entire episode was phenomenally animated this week. Holy shit. If you've had a problem with how slow the arc has been, I've generally been a fan of the kind of more contemplative pacing of the arc. I think there's been a lot of interesting questions raised. And I've been enjoying it, as you have seen through my videos the past several months. This has been a long fucking arc. But like, if you've had a problem with that, this fight is for you. You know, the Kako fight is utterly amazing all the way through. It's an utterly gorgeous, smorgasbord of beautiful animation and intense fighting and some great back and forths with Boruto and Sarada going up against Kako. Chocho, I will say, does not quite get as much in on the action as she should. Hopefully they'll be reconciled next week when it looks like Team 10 is fighting Kokuyo. Hopefully she'll have a bit more to do there. But anyway, but I'm just gonna put that to the side because the rest is so good. The rest is so good. From the top-notch animation to seeing, so the voice acting is so good in this episode. Kako's voice actor kills it for his swan song. You feel him becoming increasingly desperate to like just beat these guys when he stops doing the 20-second rule, and you see the toll it takes on his body as his body starts like cracking and getting more and more shattered, which is a good way to like not just have him suddenly die as he's about to kill Boruto. We see how close he is coming to death, and when he does that last final particle style and he dies before it gets to hit, it feels like the natural progression of everything we've seen before. Oh, it's so good. It is so good. Goddamn. Yeah, it's amazing. And then, and seeing from like just a character standpoint, his desperation leads him to surpass his limits, and then that comes back to bite him in the ass in the end. It's great. And not to mention this kind of like really subtly told arc of Kako just wanting to know what it's like to feel your heart pounding, to slowly shifting to just wanting to win. The point where he's willing to die in order to win. And I think in the end, he felt his heart pounding as he died. So Kako found his happiness as he died. But fuck, this episode is so good. This is by far the best Boruto has been since Momoshiki died. It's incredible. It's an incredible episode, an incredible fight. Oh, it's so fucking good. It's just amazing. But right as everyone kind of takes a moment to breathe after Kako's died, and Onoki and Boruto kind of like trade some barbs over whether or not Kako had a soul, had a will, whatever you want to call it. But then Inojin shows up, hypnotized by Kirara, and Kirara and an army of Akuta show up to take our heroes and Onoki back into the Stone Village, where Onoki will take his spot among the throne, and our heroes will not be in a stellar spot in the near future. And that's where we leave off. So yeah, this is by far the best episode since the Momoshiki fight. As I said before, Kako fight was nearly perfect. From the animation, to the voice acting, to the strategy. I didn't mention that before, getting to see Sarada, like, work out the pacing it takes between particle styles. It's reminiscent of Kakashi versus Pain. As Kakashi realizes, the gap between, what's the main path of Pain? David Path? David Path Pain's, almighty pushes. It's very reminiscent of that to me. Also to the way it very deftly touches on the arc's main themes. As I said before, on stuff like whether or not synthetic humans have wills, have souls, have hearts, whatever you want to call it, and how Kako absolutely does. I think that'll be very important going forward. Who's to remind me of? It reminds me, there's a villain group, I don't think it's Fullmetal Alchemist Homunculi that it reminds me of. Oh, no, I know who it reminds me of. It reminds me of Organization 13 in Kingdom Hearts. Except they're eventually revealed to have hearts, but that's besides the point. KH3D is weird. But how everyone was like, oh, they're just like pretending to have hearts. And the question is all like, do they have hearts? And of course, you eventually find out that they do. And I think that's going to happen here. I think we're going to find out that the synthetics do have hearts. They are just as human as Onoki and all of them. So yeah, that's really all I have to say for this week's episode. Next time, the whole gang comes back together to fight Kokyo. At least that's what it looks like from the looks of things. Or at the very least, Team 10 fighting Kokyo. It's called Clash Kokyo. So that's kind of my thoughts on what's going to happen. So yeah, I'm going to leave this video off here. Hope you all enjoyed this episode as much as I did, and the video. If you did, feel free to drop me a like, or subscribe, or fill out that straw poll down below, please. Or, do whatever the fuck you want. I don't really care. And as always, people, keep kicking ass, and I'll see you in the future. Bye!